So what I did is I pretty much leaned on the things that I was strongest in. So the two things that I started was the tax strategy and tax preparation as well, along with some of the financial analysis. Those were skills that were easily transferable over to the role because I was already doing it before I transitioned. So one of the things I would say is that anyone that is considering doing a fractional CFO role or another type of fractional role is to be able to look at your skill set and determine which one to two skills that you do very well that you can offer to a large audience of people. And those are the things that you should concentrate on because you can always add to your services that you will offer to prospects, but you don't necessarily have to go out and tell people that you have 5 or 6 services to offer. But if you're really good in one or two areas, just focus on that.
Hey, let's face it, this is a very tough job market. Layoffs, low pay, stressful work. Not a lot of job opportunities for those applying, and even for those who are employed, the risk of just having just one single income can cause stress and anxiety. So we asked the question, what other options do we have to grow our careers while growing our income? Welcome to We Got Options podcast. I interview guests who share how to leverage your current corporate skills to create multiple income streams, adding 5 to 6 figure opportunities on the side while using skills that you already have. If you're facing layoffs, stuck under a glass ceiling, you don't see growth opportunities in your current position, the career ladder isn't working for you, or you just want to look at how to have multiple streams of income, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Alonzo Simmons. I'm very excited to share this episode with you. Let's dive in. Verlin, good to see you today, man. Appreciate you meeting me on the podcast today. How you doing?
Doing just well, Alonzo.
Good. Hey, everyone. So for a quick introduction. So today, again, this is another episode. I was excited to have him on. We met through LinkedIn, but actually we're somewhat neighbors. We both live in the Dallas area. But this brother has had multiple years in the fractional world and has a lot of advice to give. So we're going to kind of walk through his transformation of how he started in corporate America, the skills that he learned, just kind of how that went for him, and how he transitioned into what he's doing today. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Verlin, let you give a proper introduction of yourself, and then we'll get into some of our questions.
Sure. Verlin Taylor. I'm a fractional CFO as well as a tax strategist. Most of my corporate experience stems from the banking industry. I have worked previously for Citigroup, worked for Bank of America, as well as for Wachovia Bank. And I have been in the consulting space for right at 8 years now.
Okay, good, fantastic. So I get a lot of questions all the time about consulting, fractional work, project work, and you're in the trenches doing this. So just as far as clarity goes, okay, is consulting, project work, fractional all the same, or how do you kind of look at what you do?
So I think fractional work is slightly different from short-term contracts and project-based work. So and the difference is generally on a fractional assignment, those assignments are going to be more where it's shorter term as well as the number of hours that are worked. So primarily a fractional person is going to typically work 5 to maybe 10, tops maybe 15 hours per week, and that would be the max. But you can have a short-term project where somebody is working for a client for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and they typically are working for full-time hours. So a fractional person is generally going to work between 30 to 40 hours per month on a project, providing some core services for a client.
Got it. That's some good information. Yeah, I get a lot of questions around that. Even myself, I kind of think about, what's the difference when we start seeing postings out there, or how we're going to approach clients, kind of how we structure that. But let's back up for a second. So corporate wise, you started in banking. Walk us through a little bit of what that was like for you, and maybe skill sets that you learned within the banking that helped you to transition to what you're doing now. And maybe if someone is in their current job or career, how they could kind of think about their skill set if they want to head into your direction.
Sure. So within the banking industry, those that have worked in banking, generally there's a lot of reorganization. So within the 10 plus years that I worked in banking, I supported the retail bank, the mortgage business, the private label credit card business, collection business, and several other businesses within the bank through Citigroup and Bank of America, as well as Wachovia Bank as well. But the those skills with working with the bank, from financial reporting, from doing financial analysis, business analysis, and working with various different regional managers and different coworkers, as well as working with various leads, I developed those core skills that are necessary to be a fractional CFO, which one of those
Mm-hmm.
things is dealing with dashboards and KPIs. In the roles that I've held in the past, I've dealt with a lot of data. I've done a lot of
Mm-hmm.
analysis, whether I had to go pull the data myself
Mm-hmm.
and just extrapolate the data, make some analysis and some reporting from it, which that's a core service that a fractional CFO provide, is to be able to help a client understand his or her numbers. And that's generally from looking at KPIs and monthly financial reviews of the financial statements.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So so if I understand what you're saying correctly, within banking, you move around to different departments, you support different teams.
Correct.
But within a corporate setting, you have multiple hats that you may be wearing, but more so as you transition, you're taking core skills from the multiple hats you're wearing in corporate, and you're providing a specialized skill on a fractional basis. Is that right, or would you say it a
That is
slightly different way?
exactly correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay, okay. Because I think that's where a lot of people get hung up in their day to day job. They've been working for 20 years in whatever industry that it is, but trying to understand what do they offer? Because you read a job description, you get a job, man. It might be 20 bullet points on that job description, and then
Right.
you're pulling in the special projects. Your manager may ask you to do something. Someone else, you may sign up for other teams and all that. You're trying to grow your career, but for you, how difficult or easy was it for you to decide like what's going to be your offering, or what core offerings would you take to market from the fractional standpoint?
So yeah, so I started when I was still working at the bank. I was already networking. So I was
Okay.
already going to networking events on a regular basis. So I learned about the fractional role from another person that had been networking probably 2 years prior to me. And so he gave me some insight about the fractional CFO role. And I was telling him everything that I've done in the past, a lot of the data, a lot of the financial analysis, a lot of the financial reporting, as well as taking a deeper dive and working with various different types of projects and working across a multitude of departments. So those services catered to what a fractional CFO does. I mean, from everything
Mm,
from, I mentioned the KPIs, but another thing that they do is they can help a company go out and get funding, whether they are trying to do fundraising or whether they get traditional financing. Besides the dashboards, they also deal with budgeting and cash flow forecasting, which is going to
mhm,
be key to make sure that everything stays stable and you don't get hit with any surprises in the near future. And then you have to do the monthly financial reviews. All of that correlates back to a lot of the financial reporting that I did on a regular basis with the bank. So it's that those skills easily translated over to the fractional CFO, especially when you look at the financial reviews. I was responsible for doing part of the monthly reporting on business units, which is talking about what's going on with those units, how the profits, how the losses, things associated with the balance sheet, things associated with the statement of cash flow. So it was easily translated over to the fractional CFO role. And then as it relates to the tax strategy piece that I do, I find that service that I've added within the last 2 years, because as I started to deal with more companies that
mhm,
were growing, those business owners that had passed through companies such as partnerships or S corps, they typically need someone to help them with tax strategies so they don't necessarily get killed on their 1040 tax
mm.
return.
I see. I see. Those taxes. That's
Yeah.
something I know my finance crowd, they're gonna love this one, man. They're gonna be hitting you up to talk shop on
Yeah.
all of this. But okay, that's good. So, you know, I think where another area mentally where people struggle is confidence.
Hmm.
And at what point did you feel that your skill set was strong enough from what you learned in corporate? Because that's one thing that I hear a lot is, okay, do I know enough to just go out to other businesses or even if it's solopreneurs and perform a task for them? Is my skill set strong enough? So how at what point were you confident enough to say, yeah, I could go out and do something for another company?
Sure. So what I did is I pretty much leaned on the things that I was strongest in. So
Okay.
the two things that I started was the tax strategy and tax preparation as well, along with some of the financial analysis. Those were skills that were easily transferable over to the role because I was already doing it before I transitioned.
Okay.
So one of the things I would say is that anyone that is considering doing a fractional CFO role or another type of fractional role is to be able to look at your skill set and determine which one to two skills that you do very well that you can offer to a large audience of people. And those are the things that you should concentrate on because you can
Mm,
always add to your services that you will offer to prospects, but you don't necessarily have to go out and tell people that you have five or six services to offer. But if you're really good in one or two areas, just focus on that. And for my space, I pretty much break it up two different ways. So for a new business that has been in business maybe 6 months or maybe even a startup, I know they got two critical areas that's real big for them. They need to know how to budget and
mm,
they need to know how to cash flow manage because if they don't manage the money properly, they will end up going out of business or needing to
yep.
go back for several multiple funding rounds or finding other ways to try to fund the business. And then if a business is in growth mode and they are rapidly growing, I already know that they'll need tax strategy. So that's why I added that to my services. So whether a company is starting at the beginning or whether they are rapidly growing, if you cannot offer them all four or five of your services, find one or two that you could offer and just work on it on a project by project basis. And then as that relationship builds, then you can expand and maybe have a client on a monthly retainer.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So would you say that's the easier way to start
Yes.
offering fractional
Yes.
services
Yes.
that way? Okay.
Yeah, start off with one or two services and market those services to different individuals and try those one or two services first. And then as you begin to do more work with that client, expand the service offering, which is going to increase your billable rate.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. Yeah, let me see how this sounds to you. Someone mentioned to me that in the consulting space, one difference is that you need to think about solving problems, specific problems versus when you're working at a company as a W-2 employee, more so you're more broad and you're just trying to handle anything that comes at you, be more of a team player and cover for other people as well. But in the consulting space, you really need to laser focus on your offerings and the solution and the transformation that you're going to be able to provide that client. Does that sound about right to you?
Yes, it does.
Mhm. Okay, good. Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like so when you first got started, was it easy for you just to go out and get clients from your networking, or if someone were to just get started, is that what they should do? Take a look at their personal network first?
Yeah, I would say the order should be start with your natural market, your friends and your colleagues, and those that have businesses, and see if you can just have conversations with them about their needs
Okay.
and determine if some of your service offerings would be something that would cater to them. That would be the first thing. The second thing I would say is the skills inventory that I mentioned, that make sure
Hmm.
that you look at those one to two skills that you're really good at. And the third thing I would say, make sure that your LinkedIn profile
Mm,
is fully filled out and it reflects all of your skills. And the fourth and final thing that I would mention is make sure that you have a landing page have a professional landing page that talks about that problem and solve it. Because you got to think about it. You've got one customer who's probably getting solicited by 4 to 7 different people.
Okay.
What will you do to separate yourself from the competition? And nobody wants to go through and always read through your full website. But if they can look at
Mm,
your LinkedIn profile and you've got a landing page that solves a problem,
mhm,
you you ask the question, you solve the problem, and you set it up where they are scrolling through, and it takes them no more than 3 to 5 minutes to read your content and to respond to you. You
mhm,
will probably get a quicker response that way. And then the last thing I'll leave with you is this: give yourself 60 to 90 days before you start getting a lot of
mm,
traction on that. Don't expect
okay.
that as soon as you start going out and start prospecting, that people are going to immediately begin to give you an opportunity to meet with you and have meetings and then for you to go in and close. And that even involves when you find a networking place, you've got to go to those network working groups on a regular basis, whether it's weekly or monthly. And it might be 2 months before you really get some concrete conversation that leads to Zoom meetings or face to face coffee meetings before somebody can actually do business with you. So set yourself realistic expectations and don't expect it to be 2 to 3 weeks. More realistically, it may be 2 to 3 months before you really
Got
see
it.
some
Got
traction
it.
on that.
Okay. No, that's really good to share, because I think a lot of people look at it, if I could just get my offering, send out a couple of emails, maybe go to LinkedIn, send a couple of messages, and 2 weeks later, I'm fully up and running. But it sounds like, I mean, that's possible, but most likely you're gonna have to build relationships. You're
Yep.
gonna need to network. You may need to have, like you said, a landing page or other ways where you're showing your expertise, and people get more comfortable with you, and then over time that can lead to the relationship there. You can go from there. Um, a lot of times on this podcast, we take a look at multiple ways, all the different options that people could have. Consulting is a big one. We look at maybe writing a book, starting a speaker series, looking at workshops, but if you or organizing workshops. But if you were to say, yeah, consulting would be the best for like this type of person, or maybe some other soft skills or things that if someone's listening, trying to decide, hey, could this be something that's a good fit for me, or should I look at other maybe other options? What would you say are some soft skills that someone may want to have if they were going to take this option?
Um, I would say, the relationship building
Okay.
piece is I think is real key. Free seminars, uh, those kinds of things, setting those things up, and to be able to really work on the soft skills and be an active listener. I mean, those
Mm,
are things that are really, really critical because you want to understand a prospective client's pain points. If you can understand their pain points, that is what's going to really open up the doors. The other things I talked about, the landing page, yeah, those things will work, but you've got to have the soft skills. And the other thing I mentioned as it relates to that, you have to be able to have a certain level of emotional intelligence
mm,
and where you understand where when clients are prospective clients, when they are cost sensitive,
mhm.
you've got to know how to pivot in those conversations, and that comes from having those soft skills and not trying to do hard pressure sales because you're just going to make them distracted, and more than likely they will not want to talk to you again if you try to do pressure sales with them.
Got it. Got it. That's good to know. Yeah, so some salespeople out there, they're teaching tactics and clothes and all that, but it sounds like more relational,
Yes.
especially in this day and age, because I think people are approached and pitched more often now than maybe ever before, be it through LinkedIn messages, email, cold emails, or just a variety of ways.
Mhm.
And it's very easy to sound like the last four messages that they receive as
Yes.
well. hmm Or you respond the same way someone else. Good. Okay, good, man. Hey, all this has been great information. I just wanted to give opportunity to kind of talk a little bit more about, your business, because you mentioned a lot about banking. So does that mean that when you got started, banking was the industries you were focused on, that you focus on now, or did you branch out to other industries?
No, no. I just leveraged the knowledge in banking to do the fractional CFO work.
Hmm.
I've catered to the cannabis industry, healthcare, professional services, and within the last year and a half, I've kind of dabbling into the name, image, and likeness space as well.
Okay, good, good, good. No, that's a good thing to point out that you could take your skill set, but you're not necessarily limited to the industry
Yes.
that you've come from. Because I know at this point in time, depending on this is August 2025, but the way the economy is changing, some industries are thriving, some industries are more bearish than bullish, and that sort of thing. But it's an opportunity where you could take your skill set from one industry and move it to another industry, but it sounds like you may want to learn some things about that industry, those industries as well, before you jump into them.
Yes. So my general process before I go into an industry is I do adequate research and I begin to have conversations with individuals that are already within that space. As far as like name, image, and likeness (NIL), I've been to workshops, I've been to webinars, I've been to in-person meetings. I've talked to some student athletes. I've had some one-off conversations with some other folks within the sports industry. So I do research for about, 5 to 6 months, and then I determine if it's some place that I can actually transfer my skills, and then that's my approach. So I generally research it if it's not a field that I have actually worked in.
Wow, that's thorough, man.
Yeah, well, yeah,
5 to 6 months of research.
yeah, yeah, because you have to go out and you got to meet the people. I'm in the Dallas area,
Mhm.
so I've been to some meetings for TCU. I've been to some other meetings for different types of organizations. So you have to get out there and meet people and get the information. And oftentimes, and
Mhm.
over 5 or 6 months, it takes that long to go to various different meetings. You learn so much, and then when you start talking to student athletes who are signing multi-million-dollar deals, you've got to talk to them too because you've got student athletes who will actually become breadwinners in their households. And then they are being pushed into these higher tax brackets. So they've got a completely new life experience that they're going to be exposed to. So
Mhm.
I had to learn about that. And it took about 5 to 6 months to learn that last year.
Wow. Yeah, I know this is NIL is a evolving conversation, rules, laws, and things like that are evolving around it as well, but it's relatively new. But I could definitely understand what you're saying. I mean, high school or college, if you're able to make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, that changes, not just their lives, but their families.
Correct.
Like what we would see on a professional level is happening in a much younger age, and I can see that could be difficult, or they need some coaching or advisory of how to do that properly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Good, man. Well, everyone just wants you to know that we'll have all the contact information in the notes. But if there's anything you want to share, brother, just with like what clients should know about working with you, what they should expect with working with you, anything you want to share there.
Yeah, yeah. So with me in my role as a fractional CFO and a tax strategist,
Mhm.
my core things that I offer is I help my clients understand their numbers.
Okay.
My services help aid decision making as well as help them to grow and scale their businesses. And then I also get involved in helping them driving down their expenditures. So those are my four
Mm.
core things that I do for my clients as it relates to providing the fractional CFO services.
Hmm. Okay, good, good. And excuse me, the best way for them to reach out to you, schedule a meeting with you, send you an email, what would be the best way to reach
Uh,
out to you?
sure. The best way to reach me is to just schedule a meeting and book time on my calendar. I'm
Okay.
also available on the weekend. So if you need to meet with me, just click on the calendar link that's located within this podcast, and I'll be more than willing to pull up and talk to you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey, I really appreciate you taking some time and sharing your knowledge. As we see the job economy change and what making income and all that looks like for people these days. We're really looking at what other options. Some people may leave their W-2s, some will stay full time, but just kind of look at what other options they can have to supplement their income. And the main thing to know that we do have options and that we're not
Correct.
just limited to one job. We lose that job or rift or something like that, and our whole world crash, and we just have to apply to 400 jobs and just wait for someone to call us back. Um, we have other options that we can take a look at. So I really appreciate you just sharing your story on that. I encourage everyone to reach out to you. You're a genuine guy. We met last week. I
Right.
feel like I've been knowing you for I feel like I've been knowing you for years, man. Just
Well,
like that. And I know
yeah,
we'll link up on some other things as well. So
yeah. And
look forward to it.
yeah, well, thanks again for, just inviting me on your podcast as a guest. And one thing that I would leave with your audience as well is that don't run from AI, embrace it. If
Mm,
you are working with data in any type of capacity, you
mhm,
must learn how to work with AI. It's going to make this consulting space even more easier and allow you to scale your practice by finding faster ways to do things, better ways to do things, better
mhm.
ways to check things so that you can serve more clients by taking advantage of AI.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll wrap up there. Appreciate your time.
All right.
And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Alonzo.